In this video, we build a 1-point perspective room, and this is going to be based on your previous knowledge of what you've done already dissecting a cube. So step one is to draw a square, so equal sides. You don't have to measure it, but you can, but your goal is to create a square of equal size. So basically you just started your back wall. So whether we say that this ceiling is 8 feet or 10-foot ceiling height, this cube, it doesn't matter. We're going to break it up into equal parts. So we do that now by going from corner to corner. And cutting it in half. So if this is 10 feet, we've just cut it in half, and now we're at 5 feet. Place a vanishing point to either the left or to the right of center. I placed it to the right of center. We're going to go ahead and create the room going from the vanishing point through the 4 corners of the square. Now, as you've done before, you're going to use a straight edge and determine what looks squared off. So that looks like a nice equal square here. And then in a 1-point perspective, you can just continue around all 4 sides. So if you didn't want to do that, you can also just say, hey, my ceiling looks good, this side of the wall looks good, and now my floor looks nice and cube. So what you should have now, I know we're still, observing perspective, but what you should be noticing is that you've created the basically interior of a room, or you've created a box and you took the front of the box off and you're looking straight 1-point perspective to the back of the box. In this case, it's a room. Next, we're going to go ahead and further dissect the back wall. So we've already put a horizontal line through the X, and now we'll want to place a vertical. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants, which we're going to dissect further. And then we'll put a vertical line through the X's. And horizontal line through the X's. So now take a look at this. On the sides of the walls, through our dissecting, we could have measured this, right? But now just by dissecting that back square, we have 4 equal measurements. So if this was 10, then we have 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, or 2.5, 5, 7.5 feet, 10 feet. and that'll be true on either side. So this is nothing new. You've done this all already. So now how we're going to create a grid on our ceiling and on our walls and floor is to go through these points on the grid. So from the vanishing point, go through your measurements, and now we're extending those equal measurements. This should go straight across at 5 feet at the horizon line and at 2.5 feet. So you can do the same on this side through the vanishing point here, right? Place your point, go through. 5 feet is straight across on the horizon line, and then at the 2.5 foot mark, there. So the same can be true for the floor and the ceiling. We can extend that grid to the floor and the ceiling. So let's bring out the perspective line. So we have equal points not only going vertically up the side, but we have equal points going across the top and the bottom. So for example, from your vanishing point through those equal 2.5 foot measurements, great, I've taken those equally over the top. Now you've done that a little bit when you worked on that Mad Men 1-point perspective, right? On the floor you did equal spacings, so you took it here and brought it back to the vanishing point. In this case, we're going from the back wall. So all measurements continue to work out. So from the vanishing point down here, so there's a great little trick, and again, this is dissecting the cube, but there's a great little trick we can do by going from a corner to a corner and drawing a diagonal line, just as we would have dissecting the cube, right? 5 feet. So this is something you've done before. And so what happens is wherever that diagonal hits your lines of perspective, you're going to draw down. So again, this is something that we've done before. I might be a little askew, but pretty darn close without a straight edge, aren't I? And take a look at that. Now we've taken that same lovely grid and we've placed it on the walls. And you could do the same here, right? So we have our lines from perspective, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. And from corner to corner, I drew a line, and wherever that hits, you're gonna draw a vertical line down right through that point. And you're gonna form the grid on this side. And the same will be true on the bottom. We can do that same diagonal and draw the lines across. But notice if we've stayed pretty plumb, our lines should all connect. And they do. So now you've created a grid. So hopefully you can visualize that you're inside the room right now. We have the floor, 2 walls, the back wall, which is 1 point straight on, and then the ceiling. So we're going to do a couple things. So if this is a 2.5, we're going to put some boxes in the room. Or we're going to say that this is, this is a 30-inch high, because 2.5 feet, that's 30 inches. We're going to draw a 30-inch by 30-inch block here. So what I'm going to have you do is, I know that this is 30 inches, right, across, so 2.5 feet. I know that this is 2.5 feet up. So what I'm going to have you do is, I'm going to have you just go ahead and place that where that 2.5 foot block is going to hit the back wall. It's going to hit the side wall, and it's going to hit it there. So those, that. So there's not much more that we need to do to finish this 30-inch by 30-inch cube on the floor. So we know this, because we're just following the grid. We know this. Along the wall, along the back wall. So what we don't have is the front of the grid. And we can find that measurement in a couple ways. So I can go from the corner of this grid, and I could just draw a vertical line up. So how to find out how to enclose my cube is to do this. I can either go from this corner, so this is 30 inches high, I can go over, horizontal lines are horizontal, and I can just go over, and wherever that hits my vertical line, you've done this before too, is the front of my cube. I could have also done this a different way. I know that this is going up the wall 2.5 feet or 30 inches. And I could have gone through that back corner, through my vanishing point, and created that. So if my light's coming here, let's see if you could, there's the side of my cube. And here's the front of my cube. And then there's the top of my cube. And it's all falling perfectly on the grid, and so that we know that it's 30 by 30. What if we want to draw a 30 by 30 grid cube right here? So it's not on the wall. Or if I wanted to draw it here or here or here. Well, I'm just going to draw it here, even though it's right over the vanishing point. Let's see, what would be a better place to put one? Let's put one right here. No, I'm just kind of looking because I don't want you to get too confused. I guess this is the best place to draw a cube. So first of all, I know I want my cube to be 30 inches or 2.5 by 2.5 following the grid. So go ahead and take a highlighter or something and highlight that cube so you know where you're working. We know that vertical lines are vertical. So draw some vertical, I'm going to make a dash line, construction lines up. Again, this is getting really close to my vanishing point, so vertical line up, vertical line up, vertical line up. So what you're looking at here is, now we know that the bottom of the cube is here, right? We know that it's going to go up. What we don't know is where to enclose it. So before, remember, you did start by drawing, just visualizing cubes in a 1-point perspective. And what you did is you just said, yeah, that looks about square to me, right about there. That's where I'm going to enclose my cube. but we can actually use measurements. So we can do it two ways. We can follow the vanishing point back to the back wall and go up 30 inches and through the vanishing point come up to enclose it. We can also go to the side wall, follow it over, so this is follow it over, go up 30 inches and go over. So let's just see how that works. I'm going to try it both ways. So I want to go up 30 inches high. And I want to be exact. I want to use this grid. So I'm following the plane that it's on. This is where it's sitting on the ground. I'm following it over where it hits the wall. I'm going up to my first point here, which is 2.5. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line across to enclose my cube. So now my cube looks like this. So you should be looking at the front of my cube now. Now I need to go back to the vanishing point, and where this vanishing point hits my vertical lines from here, that's going to be where my cube encloses. So you've done this before too. Now we're just getting really exact with measurements, and then you're going to take that across. Horizontal lines are horizontal, and you've just enclosed your cube. What you're going to notice is that everything starts working out. So if I were to go to the back of my cube that's hidden in perspective, and I go over, and then I go up 30 inches, and then I go across, I'll have that same line. And then everything going back to perspective, we'll hit that back line. So basically it's like if you had a cube on the back wall and pulled it out, it would fall here. If you pushed it over to the side wall, it would now fit into this square. So that's the first demonstration. Try to do like maybe a third cube. You can put a cube here and we can do that together right now. Again, the process goes, just to help you see what we're doing, we're gonna put a cube on this square. It's gonna be cube, so it's gonna be 2.5 tall or 30 inches. So I can go, I'm doing it different ways because everything works. So from this corner, I'm just drawing a horizontal line over. From this corner, I'm drawing a horizontal line over. And now I need to know how to enclose this side. So I'm going to go from the front of the cube and I'm going to make a vertical line up. And wherever it hits that horizontal line, I know I have that nice equal front of the cube. I'm going to do the same for the back. I'm going to draw a nice horizontal line up. And wherever it hits the back. But let's take a look how good I did. And through the vanishing point, they should connect. So watch. Everything works. Right? That goes back to the floor goes back to the vanishing point. Horizontal lines are horizontal. So there goes back to the vanishing point. So again, you've done this before, but now you're being very accurate working on the grid. So for this assignment, go ahead and draw 3 cubes. You don't have to shade them in. I'm shading them in for you so that they're a little easier to see. Follow these steps. I find it easier because in the next section, we're going to take this from being a cube and we're going to make it a nightstand. We're going to take this from being a cube and we're going to make it a mattress for the bed. So if you follow my steps and you first start basically setting the furniture on the grid where you want it to be and then going to perspective, it is a lot easier.